We know these markets are not correct, okay? I mean, nobody even knows what GameStop's worth. So I am certain that nobody understands Bitcoin, dude. In fact, Bitcoin has no way to measure. They're measuring Bitcoin with a different tool. These power models that everybody's like, hey, look at what Bitcoin's going to do. Ain't no models ever charted a finite product, dude. Never. Never. We have not ever had in the history of mankind the ability to chart a finite product because there aren't any. Oil is not finite. These charts are based on natural gas, US dollars, lira, other commodities, and they're saying, well, those charts are going to do what these charts did, and Bitcoin's going to follow it. We'll see. I'd bet $1,000,000 they're all wrong.
Hey guys, welcome back to the show. Today we have a fantastic guest, international and legendary entrepreneur, dialing in from Florida, Gary Cardone. How you doing, man?
Hey guys, good to see you, man.
Likewise, super excited about our conversations. Before we dive into it, do you mind to give us an intro and tell us a little bit about yourself?
Sure. I mean, what is there to say? Grew up in Lake Charles, Louisiana, a tiny, tiny little town, probably maybe 80,000 people, and big LNG refining energy city near the Texas border. On the other side, if you think of New Orleans, it's just on the absolute western side of Louisiana. Grew up with two great parents. My mother's name was Concetta Cardone. My first daughter's middle name, she just went somewhere, met some Italians, and they said, "Hey, what's your name?" Mia Cardone. And they were like, "Ooh, that's very Italian. What's your middle name?" And she said, "Mia Concetta." He said, "No, no, 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 no. Your name is Mia Concetta Cardone." And my daughter was like, "Oh, that sounds so beautiful." So she was telling me that the other day. It was pretty cool. My dad died when Grant and I were 9. He was a stockbroker, and it happened just like really fast. It was not, nobody was prepared for it. That would really change the trajectory of our lives. We had 3 other siblings, a 5-year-old brother, a brother that was 5 years older. I was the baby, and then 2 older sisters, much older, and it really shook our universe. Funny enough, I think if you ask either one of us, that was a seminal moment in what would happen to us. I think it created enough trauma that if you look at really successful people, I don't know one successful person that hasn't had a lot of challenge. It's really clear to me that there's something about going through trauma and drama and difficulty. Look at Elon Musk. He had a very, very difficult childhood. I would say actually abusive, and he survived. So it seems like there's a group of people that become victims, and then there's a group of people that just fight through the victimization and the trauma. And I'm not saying that we had a horrible life. I had a great mother who sacrificed her life to make us 2 to 3 squares a day, fresh food. There was no McDonald's. There was pork chops and spaghetti and bacon and eggs, real food, man. No telephones, a little bit of TV. And then Grant and I went off the rails around 13 or 14, just 2 alpha dogs without a master. That's really what happened. 2 alpha dogs, tons of testosterone, probably quite a bit of intellect, at least street intellect, and an understanding how to communicate with people. My dad was an extremely charismatic, I wouldn't say necessarily a sales guy. He was a stockbroker, but he genuinely loved people. And I think he probably liked people more than I like people. I mean, I like people, but some of them drive me crazy. They don't really drive me crazy. I don't even give him much time in my universe, but he loved people, man. He would drive into a Kmart, one of your big superstores back in 40 years ago, leave Grant and I in a hot car. Dude, we're Louisiana, dude. It's 100 degrees there. We would sit in the parking lot in the car, could not get out of the car, and 90 minutes later, the guy would come back. And he will have talked to every person in that store. Hello, how's Betty? How's your wife? How's your kids? How's the dog? Why don't you invest in some IBM? He was just one of those characters. And I think we learned, I think both of us learned the art of communication from him. And my mother, completely different. Didn't like people, suspicious of everyone, would never ask anyone for help, which would be a lesson that I would have to unlearn. That was a lesson. I never saw my mother ask for a bag of sugar from any neighbor, but if a neighbor came over and asked, she would be more than grateful to be able to help, but she never wanted to owe anyone anything. And that was good for me in part, but there's another side to that I've had to learn, that when I ask someone for help, it gives them the power to be effective and productive in life. I actually have turned around and go, hey, Mom, if you go ask your neighbor for something, it actually makes them feel more productive. Now, if they say no, but like not asking for help, I know this, I'm a strong cat, right? I'm probably would be considered to be on the spectrum, an alpha male. And today, though, like I am actually okay asking you for help because I think I'm actually doing you a favor. Now I'm giving you an opportunity to either offer me some assistance or you can turn your back on me. Either way, I win because I won't ask you twice. I am not in a position to help you right now, but let me introduce you to Bob. I got it. Sometimes I'm not in a position to help someone. So anyway, that was a lesson I learned from my parents, that I learned a lot of really cool things from them, but I learned some things that I needed to unlearn. When I went to college, I hated school. I hated school in high school, middle school, and I abhorred college. It was a complete waste of time. I majored in economics and marketing. The first day I went into economics, the guy went on a big chalkboard like this, and he said, when supply exceeds demand, prices will fall. And when demand exceeds supply, prices will go up. And I literally had this moment where I'm like, well, I think I'm done with school. I need to know nothing else. Like for me, it was like, okay, that's the key. Now, the reason I say that one principle that I learned on that chalkboard, I'll never forget that moment. It was like a lightning bolt hitting me in the brain. Every business, including the one I'm doing right now, would all be based on one thing: supply and demand. You have never seen me go into a market where I knew the supply and demand was completely messed up. And it was messed up. Why? Because there was a monopoly, a duopoly, or an oligopoly sitting inside the supply and demand data, and it's muffled. And anytime you cannot see transparently the difference between supply and demand, you know immediately, okay, there's obfuscation, there's black boxes, there's probably crime and abuse going on inside that matrix. Otherwise, it would be very transparent. And I mean, I could literally go down a list of ideas where go and try and find out how much money Visa makes from fraud. They are a public company, 40 years old, $500 billion in market cap. And I challenge anyone to tell me how much money they make from fraud, fines, fees, and chargebacks. Well, I know immediately if you can't see that and it's billions of dollars, there must be something going on a little weird. This is a public company, man. Okay, if it's billions of dollars, you should be able to see, oh, wow, look at that big old line item. And it goes on and on and on. Google, Amazon, Facebook. We live in a world of monopolies, dude. We are not in a free capitalist world anymore. We are in a monopoly construct, a bunch of cartels, and we have a window right here in this 21st century paradigm that's changing so rapidly. We have an opportunity right here to right the ship. I mean, I really do believe this. If we don't take this opportunity, we will never have another opportunity to unwind, basically dealing with about 100 companies that control everything, including the laws, the regulations, how the regulators treat them, you and I will not have any opportunity to pay the same kind of bills that Google and Facebook pay over and over, billions and billions of dollars. They just write the check. Thank you, man. If this is the price to pay, let's roll. So, I mean, it's effectively like organized crime, dude. It's exactly like Sicily. It's exactly like Chicago and New York in the 20s. Pay to play. And if you don't pay, I'm going to break your windows and I'm going to steal your cash register and I'm going to scare the shit out of your customers.
I also lost my dad when I was very young. I also have a brother, which has been kind of my father figure. So blessed to have him in my life, and a beautiful mother, strong mother, like you said. I also grew up in a small town with 20,000 people, really small. And school, I couldn't even bother. The experiences you go through, they make you as a man or a woman or an individual. We are like little plants. And if the plant, which is the human, grow up in a place where there is plenty of water, plenty of sun, the roots are weak because we get plenty of things. On the contrary, if the plant grows up in a situation where water is not even there, there's a ton of wind and sun never comes out, your roots are powerful, they ground you down.
I don't know if you've ever read the book Anti-Fragile. Oh, buddy, you will love that book. Anti-Fragile talks about how athletes become really, really powerful is that they continue to stress their body and break it, constantly breaking it, making it regrow, break it, stress it. For me, the difficulty has actually been, I don't know what your audience, what age they are, but one thing that I have as a principle now, I think everyone at the age of 16 till 22, somewhere in that band, leave your home, leave mommy and daddy, leave your girlfriend. There is no girlfriend on the planet that I'm going to meet when I'm 19 years old that is going to survive 40 years in this world with me. No chance, dude. I'm a rocket. Like, I'm a rocket and I'm right. And then I get a girl and she's a rocket, but starts to, you go a little bit, 1 degree difference over 40 years. She becomes my enemy, man. So just when you're young, just dump all the comfort blankets. Okay. All the buddies, all the friends. I hear people saying, well, I can't move because my 3-year-old just started school. Dude, like, your 3-year-old isn't going to be hanging out with the 3-year-old in 10 years. If they are sick, man. There's a problem, right? They should be there's 8 billion people to meet. You've been to China? I've never been to China. That's my bad, right? That's something you have over me that is like, oh wow, I've never been to China. I wouldn't even know how to operate there. And America's 240 million people. We're 5% of the population, and we consume 23 to 25% of all the energy on this planet. We are so insular and self-centered, narcissistic at the core. And I think this is the problem with the digital asset industry, the Bitcoin. And America still thinks it's in control. And America has zero control over Bitcoin and digital assets. It's hilarious to me. People talk about the Fed and this idiot criminal Gensler, the FTC, all these 3-letter agencies that are trying to stop this. And like, bro, I would love for you to ban this. Please ban it, because the price will go up. I mean, I'm doing a lot of work right now with the Trump administration, Vivek, local. I've never done politics. I am getting involved in politics right now because of Bitcoin. And there's a window here for us. Now, I'm not talking about using Bitcoin to take over the US Fed and do all that. That's ridiculous pitch. Okay. The pitch should be, hey, Mr. Politician, Mr. 35-year-old, I can employ 3 million people in the United States that do not need a college education. Now, I just told this to the chairman of the Republican National Convention. He said, what's your deal? I said, my deal is 3 million people, dude, going to work, and they do not need to go into debt. And they don't need to waste 4 years of their life. And he's like, huh? Oh, yeah, dude. 3 million jobs, 200 grand each. They're probably going to be richer than all of us because they're buying Bitcoin with it. So these are, and they're young. Okay. The other thing is the lifetime value of taking care of these people. I deal with a bunch of accounting and tax and treasury companies and forensics, lawyers in Bitcoin litigations. There is an opportunity for people to begin servicing. Like, let's think about accounting and tax people. Most people never change their tax guy. Well, imagine you're a top 20 accounting firm and you're looking at this going, wow, I could gain 1 million users they're 32 years old and they're going to be with me for their entire lives and their families' lives to manage all their legal matters around Bitcoin. Like, you guys keep telling me Bitcoin's going to go to $1 million. You're not behaving like it. Okay, you're not behaving like it because let's use Roger Ver as a good example. Why is Roger Ver in trouble right now? Because he did not fully understand that this was going to be a multi-deca-trillions industry. You do not get in trouble over $50 million, dude, if you understand the size of the play, right? So he underestimated how big the opportunity is, even though he was saying it in his voice, it's big, it's big, it's big. Well, you need to protect it then. And you don't have silly emails. I mean, we pitched him. The company's called Node 40. I think we pitched him in 2015. He didn't want to hear anything about it. And because I think at that era, people thought anonymous, federal government doesn't have a right to see. The federal governments of every government is going to see what you're doing. Like, come on, guys. There's not going to be an anonymous coin where we can create subterfuge and help terrorists and buy drugs, and it's not happening. Okay, like, it's just silly. It's going to happen with US dollars. It happens all the time with US dollars, but you can't pitch it that way, right? It's just not. It's silly. Okay, it's just silly. If you were the king of the world, you would need taxes, man.
100%.
Unless you had Bitcoin on your balance sheet and then you're just going to do everything for free, you would still charge taxes if you had Bitcoin on your balance sheet because you want people to pay for their environment. Like, I don't go to Starbucks anymore. And the reason I stopped going to Starbucks is, one, I don't think their coffee's that good. Two, when they started letting homeless people in to use the toilet, like, how can that possibly be a good place to go? You can't let everyone come in free. Twitter, I've never been on Twitter until they started charging. The moment he started charging, I'm like, I'm in. Because I hate going. Have you ever been to a bar where all the drinks are free, the entry's free, they let guys in, girls in? Oh, yeah, all the guys show up, there's no girls, and it's no fun. I think money and numbers have a real way. If you create the right incentives, it is the most healthy way to establish a society. But you have to be consistent. You can't play favorites. And that's what's been happening for 30 or 40 years. We're playing favorites and we're not being fair and unbiased and neutral across all players. That's an opportunity that this new world offers us that's very, very promising.
The Bitcoin standard, I'm sure you've read, you came across, talks about when money is good, society flourish. It's interesting how technology and history repeats itself on a consistently based. I'm sure you remember internet. I was in my 20s when this thing kicked off and nobody liked it. I remember I was working for a design company. I have a design background. I was building software before I kind of became a full-time Bitcoiner podcaster. And I remember pitching companies in Italy like Ferrari, Maserati, big corporations, say, guys, we have the internet. It's a new channel. It's like, dude, I want to go on TV. I want to go on radio. I don't care. Internet, what? It takes forever to connect. It costs money. Do I need a modem? I can't use the phone. No, I don't care. It's not portable. Go away, man. I have TV and advertisement. No, but you don't understand. If you have a website, you can track how many people are watching. Who does that? Who cares? Nobody has the internet. Go away. Nobody wanted it. When you buy a newspaper and you place an advertisement, you don't know how many people have seen it. You only know how many people have bought the newspaper, but that doesn't mean they've gone to the page. So I can offer you data, real clicks and people. We don't care. We don't understand. Email address? I don't need an email address. I have my post. What are you on about? Now, you fast forward 20 years and people are complaining when there is no Wi-Fi. But back then, we could not imagine what the Wi-Fi would have become 20 years later because people were stuck in looking in their box with their blinkers. Same, I think, is technology in anything else, like electricity. When they invented electricity, they didn't know we would have made self-driving cars. I mean, it was so far away from there. So there is definitely something I would like to pick your brain on here, but I feel like Bitcoin is basically showing like a base layer as a new protocol of money that is going to allow society to flourish. That not being exposed to this thing, that would be a much, much, much larger risk. How did you came across this beautiful asset?
Well, I first heard about it in 16, and that was when the Bitcoin Cash, Bitcoin, the Bitcoin, the forking. Now, remember, okay, I have only ever been in really large industries. The first one was oil and gas and power. My counterparties were Goldman, Exxon, Conoco, BP, Shell. I mean, these are monster players, right? They don't around. It took me 3 years to get a lunch with ExxonMobil. The buried entries are massive. Then I go into payments, build a business in payments. Then I started figuring out, oh, actually, I have a gift of building these businesses really relatively early on, but not massively early. Like, I think there's been a lot of people that have been really early into Bitcoin, maybe too early. That's a whole nother conversation, but I think there's a very, very, very small number of people, very small number of people that bought 57-cent Bitcoin and still have all the gains. I think there have been so many mistakes made, and losing the Bitcoin isn't one of them. Now, losing the Bitcoin, no one's losing Bitcoin at 70 grand a day. I maintain that the reason you lost and that Roger Vere's in trouble is he underestimated how actually big this was going to be. That he could speak it, but he didn't really know. Like when you buy something for $30, man, it's a lottery ticket, okay? So we lost 2 or 3 million coins because it was mispriced. I've been in markets since I was 22 years old. I'm going to tell everyone something here that will defy everything you've ever heard from Wall Street. Wall Street pricing is never correct. Okay, it's not efficient. I don't care how many McKinseys and Cap Gems tell you it is. These markets are never right. Okay, ever. So to look at NVIDIA's price 2 months ago and to realize in one day the market cap of that company changed by $250 billion, not million, a billion, $250 billion, about 25 or 30% of their market cap changed. 12% of their market cap changed in 12 hours. My question is, well, if all you analysts are so smart from Harvard and Brown and Yale, why did 400 of you miss $250 billion move? So
Yeah.
we know these markets are not correct, okay? I mean, nobody even knows what GameStop's worth. So I am certain that nobody understands Bitcoin, dude. In fact, Bitcoin has no way to measure. They're measuring Bitcoin with a different tool. These power models that everybody's like, hey, look at what Bitcoin's going to do. Ain't no models ever charted a finite product, dude. Never. Never. We have not ever had in the history of mankind the ability to chart a finite product because there aren't any. Oil is not finite. These charts are based on natural gas, US dollars, lire, other commodities, and they're saying, well, those charts are going to do what these charts did, and Bitcoin's going to follow it. We'll see. I'd bet $1 million they're all wrong. I think generally they're right going up to the right direction. So to answer your question, first off, I walked away from it because it was missold to me. And I blame the early people for being, not all the older people, but you guys were too passionate. You let your passion run away from how markets really are developed and work. It was never going to get adopted by Joe User. Big message problem. Peer-to-peer does not mean, it's nowhere in the white paper it says 8 billion people are using Bitcoin to buy potato chips, dude.
Yeah.
Okay, no, there is nothing in the damn white paper that says that. What the white paper says is that this is a peer-to-peer currency. Awesome. Well, so is gold. Okay, it doesn't negate any. U.S. dollars will still be a peer-to-peer currency because at close proximity, U.S. dollars is very powerful. Okay, it's light, easy to move around, as long as you and I are within 20 feet of each other. But outside of 20 feet, it gets a little messy. I got to do wires and transfers and give it to a friend, and he drives down the street and gives it to the buddy, and then he picks up the product. That's not a market that's flowing massive volumes. Now, where are we headed? We are headed to a fractured, globalized market. Globalized, but it's fractured. So you're going to have multitude of marketplaces that are buying and selling things. They're all going to be using their various baskets of currencies. They're going to have CBDCs. Let them roll them out, dude. I'm not worried about the CBDC. There's going to be 108 countries competing with each other to have their own CDC. Bring it. Some of them are going to be private blockchain. Some of them are going to be public. Joe Consumer gets to decide what he's going to play with. Okay, I'm quite certain that is going to lead to massive adoption on Bitcoin because you're going to be able to see the difference in these two products. They're going to be substantially different. In 18, I made my first purchase at $8,000. I had a business that was making $70 million a year. I think I bought $3 million worth of gold, and I bought about 4 or 5 Bitcoin at $8,000. So my weighting in gold was massive. That was a mistake. Okay. However, at $8,000, I still wasn't sure about Bitcoin because there was a lot of noise, man. It wasn't the price volatility. It was the immaturity in the industry, the lack of a consistent message, and some bizarre like behavior that I was like, oh man, this is. And then all the crime started, right? The Celsius thing broke down. I got rid of my business. I started realizing my business was costing me this opportunity. And in 2019, I started loading up. And then 20, I loaded up. And then I bought a company in the crypto space. I basically decided I am going to devote the rest of my life into blockchain and crypto, and went through a massively difficult divorce, over a $500 million family breakup. This is a really cool story, okay? I share this story with everyone. No one should get like all freaked out. Oh, Gary's like talking about his divorce. It's not that thing for me. It's what I learned about the value of crypto going through a divorce. Like, I think I saved myself $20 or $30 million going through a divorce having Bitcoin. Like, literally, I think Bitcoin saved me tens of millions of dollars in this divorce, and having a tool that I'd bought, which was called Node 40, that Node 40 tool to be able to exactly show the other team, 10 lawyers, dude. 10 lawyers on the other side trying to rip my face off, steal everything from me. 2 children, $500 million, and all my Bitcoin. And I was going into a deposition. Any of you guys that have size, okay? I was going into a deposition just to show you how painful this can get. Okay, when you get these letters, you can say you're in Puerto Rico or Dubai and whatever, but like I go back to Roger Ver, he didn't have a blue passport, dude, and they still grabbed him in Spain. So we're now into a different world where the old world, like we thought used to work, there's no like boundaries upon which you can get stopped in your tracks. This Node 40 tool took a 9-hour deposition, and they were claiming that Gary took $50 million from my family and turned it into 7 in Bitcoin, which, by the way, the day I had the deposition, I'm down 76.3%. My portfolio looks like dude. My lawyers, I only have 2 lawyers and 1 forensic guy. My forensic guy abused me for $40,000 fee to measure all my crypto, which is not complicated. It was all buys, dude. 3 years of buying Bitcoin. They charged me $40,000 and said, hey, you owe $700,000 to the U.S. government. I'm like, dude, I never sold Bitcoin. How could I possibly? Well, look, this transfer between Coinbase and Coinbase Pro. That's not a liquidation event. Big lesson, man. All the professionals around you, all your accountants, all your lawyers have no clue about Bitcoin and blockchain. They are your liability. So Node 40 for me offered me a tool to explain Bitcoin and my Bitcoin investment to professionals around me without using the word blockchain, Avi, Uniswap, Dogecoin, FTX, Celsius. I don't need to introduce all this. I need to present a P&L that they understand. It's just numbers. Dude, the other team had 42 minutes. They ran out of questions after 42 minutes. 9 hours, 12 lawyers, $800 an hour was a 1 hour meeting. And they never asked me another question about my crypto. In fact, I ended the conversation and said, guys, clearly I'm an idiot. I have lost all this money. Under no conditions would my ex-wife want any part of this digital position. I'm probably going to go bankrupt. And they were all like, we concur. So, dude, it saved me millions. Okay. So just being prepared, that's, I know we went off, but once I go down a rabbit hole, and by the way, I don't think people go down this rabbit hole. I think that is an egotistical viewpoint. I think you're pulled into just be grateful. I'm pulled into this.
By the way, don't worry, there is no path. The conversation is the path. So we go where we want to go. Don't worry at all.
Yeah. So I didn't get interested in Bitcoin based on just the price. I think gold at the time was around 1,100 and Bitcoin was at 7,000 to 9,000. What got me really interested was watching Dan Tapiro, Tim Draper, and some other guys from Wall Street. Michael Saylor had his back up against the wall. Michael Saylor is a brilliant man, but let's be clear. He was brilliant enough to know, hey, I can no longer compete against Microsoft, Google, and others. They are kicking my ass, and inflation is destroying my ability to run faster. And if you talk to anyone, they all feel like they're running, but the treadmill is going in the opposite direction, so they're never making any progress. When I saw these type of people, I went, these guys are like me, man. They don't fit right in the mainstream of Wall Street. They're on the edges. There's firms in Wall Street I would never work for. I don't care if you paid me $300 million a year, dude. I'm not going to work for these people. And I think that when I saw these particular personalities, not mainstream, but the edge case, I was like, this is happening, dude. Hundreds of us. And today, dude, there's thousands of really smart people. You show me a world where you stick 1,000 intellectually capital strong people, intellectually capital strong, into an industry, I will show you an industry that's going to go through massive change. I don't care if they don't have any money because it's too much intellectual capital. And this is getting ready. This is getting ready to do a Moore's law where it actually flips and it increases. I'm predicting right now when Bitcoin hits 100 grand, you're going to see several hundred, if not thousands, of senior people running big divisions in companies say, F off, I'm out of here, dude. I'm gone. And they're going to build companies, dude. I'm going to hire some of them. They're not going to need monster salaries. They're going to want equity because they've made their money through Bitcoin and they're walking away from 20-year career at XYZ accounting firm. You watch what's getting ready to happen, dude. A lot of people getting ready to get rich. We're having a wealth transfer that think about what happens when you have one of these. Think about an accounting guy that's been working inside of KPMG since 16. He's been seeing these whales buy $30, $300. Hey, honey, let's take a little position. All of a sudden, he's got 30 Bitcoin that he priced at $6,000. Dude, that is massive change for him, okay? So he can now take $18 million, pay 6 or 4 of it in taxes, and he's good to go. Now he can build a company or join someone like me that knows how to build a company, and he has the Rolodex, man. The Rolodex is the deal, right? The Rolodex, to be able to call somebody up and pitch a deal is the deal. So this only gets better from here, man. There is nothing in my journey since 2018 that gives me any doubt whatsoever on this conviction. And when I do these, I have 5 investments, man. I am not a diversified guy. I hate diversification. I think it's stupid. Okay. Like, I haven't been the best guy in marriages. I've had 3 failed marriages, but I still believe in the one. I don't, I'm not going to date 30 women, dude. Like, it'll drive me crazy. Like, I can't invest in 30 different companies and run them well. I couldn't date 10 women and actually take good care of them, right? Much less them taking good, it's just, it's weird. That's what diversification is. And most everyone listening to this believes diversification is a good strategy. It is not a good strategy. It is a fear strategy that the super rich deploy because they're scared to make the next move, man. They're scared to make the next move. The only reason you don't move all in, maybe not all in, but heavy in, is because you lack conviction or you don't want, and that's okay if you want to go travel the world, put in a mutual fund, dude, I'm good. My brother's not going to buy Bitcoin this year or next year. He's going to buy real estate. He's still going to be rich. Okay. He'll be super rich. So everyone's going to come along this little journey when they're most ready, when it's needed for them. And I would just saying that this term about, hey, you get Bitcoin when you deserve it, dude, that's very demeaning comment. Okay, let's knock that off. That is an arrogant comment if you really think about it. Well, sister, you're just too stupid to own Bitcoin today. You're going to buy Bitcoin when the guy educating the receiver on it actually has a good pitch. And it's a pitch relative to that person. My 75-year-old sister probably owns $500,000 worth of Bitcoin. Okay, but I didn't slam her into Bitcoin, dude. I slammed her into an ETF. I don't care how these people get it. Okay. I don't care if you buy it on a wallet, self-custody, through a freaking mutual fund, get into Bitcoin. It's a little bit like, hey, go to this movie theater, go to this movie, but you can only go to these particular movie theaters. Dude, I don't care how you see the damn movie. Read a book, listen to the audio tape. I was with a congressman the other day, and he said, I said, how much do you read? And he said, well, not very much, because I really listen to a lot of stuff. Oh, that's studying it. But he's discounting it like, yeah, I don't read as many books, but it sounds to me like you read 2 books a week. You're just listening to them while you drive or while you're in your plane. That's great. I think I'm reading more than I have ever read before because I'm not just limited to a hardback book, right? So there's so much data out there. Then look at this. We are decentralizing media and education right now, dude. Like, I'm blowing the socks off of educators. My goal in life is to the entire education system up in the United States. I mean, really mess it up through these mediums, because now I have a way. I could be a great teacher. I actually hated my teachers, most of them. I had 2 good ones. I'm not so brilliant that I can't speak with you. And I'm not so dumb that I can't speak with a brilliant scientist. And somewhere in the middle, right? Like, there was a survey done many, many years ago on trying to figure out what was the common thread between all the great CEOs in the world. They can't come up with anything. There is like zero, like go research. What's the common thread? I think the common thread is their ability to communicate up and down the food chain. Okay, I am not going to use blockchain. If you listen to any of my stuff, I rarely use any fancy words. Now, the Harvard guys are going to laugh at me and go, yeah, because you don't know any. But the truth is, I don't think it's necessary. I need to be able to teach anyone the way I teach my child. Okay, like we just picked up a game called Cash Flow, and I'm taking my kids through this.
Kiyosaki.
It's a good game, okay? You play that game for 3 hours, you will never buy a house. Ever. You will understand so rapidly that a house is an energy suck, and that you're given an option. Do you want to rent a house to somebody, or do you want to buy a house? And even the 9-year-old's like, let's see, I make $140 on renting this home to someone else, and this house over here is going to cost me $140. By the way, I saw one of my daughters get pregnant 3 times in the game. Oh, You land on this, you have a baby. Okay, that's $400 a month. And then she loses her job a year later. Oops. This is real life, Mia. This is what happens, dude. Why would I lose my job? Well, your company went bust, dude. The guy you were working for went bust. You now have a baby. The game says you have to pay $400 for every baby. Okay, you don't have a job. And by the way, you got to pay me $3,000 because taxes are due. And she was broke within 22 minutes, dude. Like just out of life, out of shit happening to her. She didn't do anything wrong in the game. She's rolling dice, dude. You're just rolling dice. And then you're like, oh, wow, this is like real life. I got fired last night 3 times in the game. I went broke, had to claim bankruptcy. and the jobs are all different. Like a cop, you know, he's making $1,500 a month net. And then the teacher's $800. And you're like, oh, my God, I'm a teacher. I will never get out of this rat race, right? So anyway, we have so many tools today, man. So many tools. I find this to be the most promising moment I have ever been on this planet. It is so exciting. So many opportunities. I'm talking to freaking presidents, dude, and vice presidents over Bitcoin. Okay, not over natural gas or how cool Gary Cardone is or what my following is. Dude, Bitcoin has so much gravity. Like, I do a bunch of surveying on some of these social media things. Just run a survey. Do you want me to talk about prosperity, family health, dating, or Bitcoin? 74% Bitcoin, 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 Bitcoin. And it's not just a small group of people. That group is growing. Now, I would like to see us have more tangential. Let's expand that collection of people. And there's so many subjects that I think can be correlated with Bitcoin that are tangential to the decentralization, the power of you and I coming together. There's going to be so much opportunity. As long as we're not censored, this is going to be a golden age of opportunity, and it's going to be extremely painful for a lot of people.